What's going on, Jesse? What's going on, Maddie? What's up, Sids? Welcome in, welcome in. Apple a day keeps the losses away. I mean, I have been mentioning Apple for quite a few nights. I think I mentioned it maybe last night or the night before. I think I mentioned it. What's going on, Johnny? What's up, Lobo? Ty, what's going on? Maddie, appreciate that. Welcome in, though, everyone that just joined in. Today was fairly a nice day. I think the close was even better. Amazon was a hotel. Yeah, that's funny. All right, I'm not. I will say though, I've been knocking on the door for Apple the past few nights. If you probably saw on live here, I was knocking on the door for Apple for everyone to get in early. And so, if you actually got in when I've pretty much been preaching about that, saying that Apple's been quiet, there's been no noise about Apple, all the pretty much the negative sentiment about the chip shortage, about pretty much all their production that's going to be leading into the holidays, that's going to be pretty much bad for all of the shoppers out there. I pretty much mentioned that that was already behind them. It was already priced in for that matter, and that Apple was just way too quiet. And then last night I pretty much jumped back on live and I said about the rotation that we're seeing in mega cap tech, and pretty much it was Apple and Amazon that I felt were the two names that needed to get their rally started. We saw pretty much the push out of Microsoft. It even continued today, going into new highs. Avery touched bases on that this morning on Microsoft. Netflix silently this morning, and I mean silently because me and Avery literally didn't even notice that Netflix made new highs, pushed that 700 mark this morning. That was just a quick spike to that 700 mark. Then we also saw Google was a little bit flat on the day, not much price action there. Facebook's pretty much, we know the sentiment that's going around with Facebook. They already had a nice little push from the drop that they've had just recently. And they were the one lonesome that was red today out of the big cap tech stocks. And then, of course, Tesla just being Tesla. So I know right now I'm pretty big on Amazon. This literally feels like the last mover right now in all of this rotation that we're seeing with big cap tech. It just wouldn't feel right without Amazon making that next push to pretty much finish this rotation that we're seeing. So by no means do I expect pretty much Microsoft to be done, Apple to be done. Google possibly has a little bit of range. Probably could test that 3K yet again if be the case. If it desires here. I got to see the technicals on Google. But granted the fact that it's already broken 3K, that was pretty much the goal that we were all expecting on Google was breaking that 3K mark. It already made that push. And then Netflix, of course, already hit that 700 target, which we were all anticipating that uh, quite a few days ago. So that's pretty much where I am right now. I've been knocking on the door for Apple. I'm knocking on the door for Amazon. Let's see if she comes through by the end of the week, Jay. So alluding to your point here, I expect Amazon to make that push here. We're gonna once we break 3,600, it's gonna go wild. I'm pretty sure that is. All right. But let me get into a few names here. I do have Apple on the watch list. I mean, just to show you pretty much from what the continuation of today and pretty much what I was looking at when I called it out just prior. But just quick overview here on S&P this morning. We actually had a nice little push this morning, and that was rather not just a little push, but that was a pretty much spike that we had, and then it literally just reversed us. But big picture wise, real quick, so I just show you the big overview. Nothing's really changed on my chart. Everything pretty much looks the same. I still have the ascending broadening wedge. I still have my key levels here. One thing that I do want to highlight though is that I don't know if you actually notice here, we have a nice little cup right here that we formed, and then today actually felt like the handle. I'm just pointing that out, not necessarily that it's going to actually work out and be a cup and handle. We're going to just explode to the top. Although this gray line that I have, for those of you that are not aware, if I zoom out, you notice that gray line right now is pretty much our resistance level. So if we're going to continue to push and get past these highs and this pattern for some reason does end up working out, that cup and handle, and we just pretty much rocket to the moon here, then the levels that we're pretty much looking at on S&P futures here, we're looking at testing ranges towards 75.60. Right around that level is where we're looking to test towards the resistance, in which that'll be where we see the proper pullback that me and Avery have been anticipating even at these current levels. All right. So I just wanted to allude to that. But going into today's price action, so I give you just a recap of what we were looking at this morning. Let me just zoom in real quick into today's price action. real quick. Here we go. All right, there we go. So we had this nice little random spike that we had up in here in this morning, and then we had that sharp pullback, and the bears just came out of nowhere in premium chat saying that we were gonna die, we were gonna die, and then the next thing I know, I saw all these images about head and shoulders, head and shoulders. Now, and then I pretty much alluded on live today, and I was like, I don't trust any head and shoulders since this entire COVID run that we've had since the March lows. And the reason being is because SPY and QQQ are pretty much dragging everything up for this moment. As you see, they're running inflation as hot as possible that they can. And every head and shoulders that I've seen, more than not, has all failed. And it doesn't mean that it's 100%, but I'm saying more than not, it's pretty much failed. And that's where we pretty much are right now. It's, if you see, we pretty much closed pretty green today. That head and shoulders did not play out that we ended up having. So I just wanted to allude to that. And as we saw after hours, we ended up having Nvidia pretty much beat. I was expecting profit takers to step in on Nvidia during earnings. It just so happens that they actually stepped in before close, and we saw that massive little drop that they had before close, and then we had a nice little $14 push after hours. So that's what I just wanted to allude to here. But pretty much just pointing out the head and shoulders that we had on today's price action, being that a lot of you probably ended up taking puts down somewhere here on the bottom of that spike here, considering that you thought it was a head and shoulders, and that didn't end up working out for you. So I just want to caution you about that. The one thing I also want to allude to is that right now, being that the Bears are trying to find a reason, and being that Bears, I'm one of those Bears. I think Avery was being a Bear this morning until I showed him the little inverse head and shoulders that ended up working out intraday, and that made us cause that spike. We're expecting a pullback here before that Santa Claus rally towards the end of the year. We were actually expecting it now rather than later, so we can end up getting that next leg higher. But granted the fact that there's good sentiment right now, there's nothing that's necessarily, hinging us from going any higher than we are right now. And then also the fact that the semis are pretty much backing up Nvidia here. We saw a little bit of the price action between Micron was up just a little bit. We saw AMD up quite a bit. AMAT was another one that was up a bit. So we saw the semis pretty much pushing, and on top of that, we had the mega cap tech stocks that are all just pushing collectively from that matter. So if you're trying to be a bear and find a reason for a bear, I mean, I just pretty much alluded to the fact that you don't have weakness in semis, you don't have weakness in mega cap tech yet. Pretty much just put it on the back burner right now and wait for a reason a little bit later. All right, that's what I will caution saying right now. And as you see, tech is pretty much pushing all afternoon here in futures. So getting over to Nasdaq real quick, and I don't think I've changed anything here on my Nasdaq chart at all that I'm aware of. Let me just zoom in, and I think I can get to the 2 hour. Shrink that. Nothing's really changed. I still have the descending channel that we ended up having. I still have my zones that I like here, my demand zone that I have, and my supply zone up at the top. All I did was extend it to the right. And as you see, we wicked off right into the end of my supply zone that I ended up having, wicking off towards 13,396. And so we ended up regressing here. That was when we ended up thinking that we're gonna have that head and shoulders. You had that massive head, that was our peak here, and then the right shoulder that everyone presumed. But then we ended up just pretty much avoiding the neckline break, and we went right back up. So I'll be watching to see what happens tomorrow if we re-enter the supply zone with the semis on good note, mega cap on good note. Let's see if we re-enter the supply zone and end up breaking today's high, and that's what we'll be watching for. So we'll keep an eye on the break over that 16,396 tomorrow. Let's see if we can get a nice little push again tomorrow with all this positive sentiment right now. And then over that, then we're looking at breaking the highs up at the top here over 16,448. Okay, so those are the two levels I'll be watching here. And other than that, I do have the levels I'm watching below for if we end up breaking down. Those are just the levels that I'm particularly watching. So I just have it on the back burner here on the side note. But other than that, those are the two key levels I'm watching for the top range. Uh, Pushing over to Apple, and I did mention that I was watching Apple here, and I actually posted this chart on live here before we even got this breakout. If you remember, we were still in this little wedge that we had going on here when I alluded to Apple. That was just a massive push that we ended up getting today. And it went right into my first supply zone that I have noted here, in which we wicked off exactly at 155. We double topped pretty much at 155. If I go into the 3 minute here, you notice this little double top action that we have here. This candle hit 155 dead on, and this candle hit 155 dead on, and we ended up regressing. So I'm gonna see what ends up happening. Going back out to this chart, we want to see it end up getting back over that 155 level. I don't think the Apple's done by any means right now. It could be that we get a little bit of consolidation as we just got this breakout, and then we possibly end up getting that next push. A little bit retest of 155 later in this week here. Granted, we have what tomorrow and Friday, and then next week is when I would expect to get that continuation towards the upside of breaking this recent high that we just had here, the 155. So that's what I will allude to. And then, of course, we're going to break that all time high here of 157.26, which pushes us towards that 160 target. All right. But that's just something to keep on the back burner. Wait for a possible regression here to continue to the downside. Maybe retest that 152.50 level. And that'll be potentially your dip buy entry. And then taking contracts out towards next week. All right. Another one, this is just a silent mover that I wanted to point out here is Expedia. I know that a while back Avery actually mentioned Expedia following their earnings. But what I did like about this one in particular was that falling wedge action that we had here. We got a nice little break. It looked like it had a little bit of regression, attempting to get a nice little retest. And now we're starting to push here. So I'm watching this one. I want to see it make that break right over that 173, 178.40 mark is what I'm watching here for the break above on Expedia. And this could easily retest this double top action that we had here. The double top was at 191.83. I can see this getting towards 200 very soon. Not going to be this week, possibly not even next week. So if you're trying to look for this one, you definitely want to get a few weeks out on this one in particular. But granted, it had good earnings. We do see that travel stocks are pretty much have solid sentiment for that matter. You also heard us talking about airlines. Me and Avery are looking at Boeing. We're pretty much tracking that one, trying to go long on that towards the end of the year. So this is one of those where, following that good earnings, this is pretty much your dip entry right now that you're getting on this regression. All right. So I'll be watching this one. Keep an eye on it. Another low key name was just AbbVie. This is one of those biotech names. I just wanted to point out just primarily because of the setup here. You just have a flat channel. So I want to see this end up getting that breakout here over that 117.60. Might be a nice day trade, a nice little scalp play. But this is a beautiful one here. And did I even look at this on a larger time frame? Let me see. Yeah, so if you're looking for overhead resistance, your overhead resistance is right around this mark of 119.77. So that's what I'll be looking at. But I do love that little flat channel that you have here. It's made a nice little reversal towards the upside. And so that's just a quick scalp. I'll set an alert for that one tomorrow morning. And that'll be a nice little quick trade that I take on that one. Another one that I want to point out was McDonald's. This one's just been non-stop. It looks like it set up a nice little falling wedge type of action here. I just wanted to point out also, you have a little bit of a falling wedge. You got that breakout, a beautiful little retest here on that wick, and now you're pretty much ready to go north yet again on McDonald's. So watch this one. Once we get over that break here of over 253.75, that'll be a beautiful one to take towards the high here and possibly fill this wick at the high of 257.53. All right. So that's McDonald's. Uh, the other one I'm watching here potentially is also Snow. Snow has just been a non-stop mover. I remember I was looking at this since like the low 390 mark, even possibly below that, and it just shot right over that 400 mark beautifully, and it ended up breaking the resistance of the ascending channel. So what I'm watching for now is a beautiful little retest here that you possibly have. So watching this retest, this is potentially your next dip entry on Snow here. So keep an eye on this one going into tomorrow. And that'll be a beautiful entry right here to go long in this one to fill the wick at the high here of 405. So I wanted to point that one out. So now your resistance prior is now becoming your support. So let's see if it can rest here. If we can find some support right around this 396.65 mark. And then we could take that next leg higher over that 405 mark to fill the wick at the highs. All right. And then just the last thing to keep on radar here tomorrow is just the dollar. I just wanted to point that out. Of course, because of the fact that once the dollar rises, usually the market ends up doing the inverse, in which we could possibly look pretty ugly. So I wanted to point that out here, and the fact that let's just keep an eye on the dollar. Even though I'm saying everything looks like a solid sentiment right now, just keep an eye on this one. As you see right now, it's actually broken the support right now that I had on the falling wedge action. So that's something just to allude to, and I don't know why my lines actually look like they shifted. for whatever reason. Alright, I think I fixed it. But nonetheless, it actually broke the support level, so that's a good sign for the market to go north. And I just wanted to look at that one. I did see the falling wedge. I actually, when I charted it, the Dixie, after market close, we were actually still within the wedge. And I was expecting a possible breakout for whatever reason. Maybe that would have been our catalyst, the dollar rising. But we ended up breaking down support levels, so that gives me a good relief that the market's going to continue to push north going into tomorrow. Unless we get some kind of news tomorrow. And also, looking at the 10-year bond yield, that may be another indication. But when I looked at it, that was pretty much just flat. All right. Other than that, that covers the ones that I'm particularly looking at. Of course, we'll still be looking at mega cap tech across the board. Microsoft continues to push new highs. I know that Avery is targeting, believe 350 on Microsoft. I mentioned Google. If it ends up continuing to get a nice little push, it felt like a back-to-back consolidation day for Google. It was down $7 yesterday. It was up $7 today. That could easily make its push right back towards 3K. And then I mentioned Amazon. That's pretty much top of my list right now. Apple, it already got a nice little spike. Let's get a little bit of consolidation, a little regression, and that'll continue its push going into next week. Facebook's just being a little bit more of a dog. I mean, sentiment-wise, that's not too shabby right now. I did see call flow going out for 350s. That looks like it's been eaten a little bit by that downside move. So I'm a little bit more cautious on Facebook. But other than that, uh, overall, and then we also have Tesla. Once we break 1100, we're going to see those 1200 calls just flood the gate. So we do want to see that get right back over the 1100 mark. I believe it tapped 1110 today, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it tapped 1110 right around that mark. 1120 was actually the high. And so we ended up progressing. Let's see what she ends up doing back. If we end up filling this wick here at that 1120 mark, that'll definitely give us a nice little push towards that 1200 mark, in which buyers are really just going to flood the gate as they already have. All right. I'm going to look at 3 or 4 tickers here real quick, and then we'll wrap it up real quick. Let me see what you guys are looking at. I mean, Mara, I don't think there's anything worth looking at for Mara. I'm not going to consider this one of the tickets I'm looking at. But granted the fact that Bitcoin is pretty much still down, if I look at my crypto list, my major list, crypto's bouncing, so you may end up seeing a bounce tomorrow on Mara, but nothing significant that's really going to send Mara to the moon just yet. I do have to check with my boy Straight in the crypto room. I haven't been looking at crypto as much to see really what his projections are and what his levels are that he's looking at for Bitcoin. But I don't see anything meaningful on this reversal just yet that says we're just gonna push north. So until I get some levels off of Straight, because I know that he's really more so looking at Bitcoin, then I'll be able to give an update on Mara and also on coin, because that's another one that I'm watching as well, is getting in on coin once we do see the reversal on Bitcoin. But this is not just meaningful just yet. So give me a moment. Actually, probably tag me in Discord, and I'll get an update from Straight to give you some kind of directional move on Mara and potentially coin as well. Someone mentioned, you mentioned Home Depot. I know that Home Depot is literally just mooning nonstop. That's literally just a moon city right now. I mean, it's a beautiful little setup that you have. I'm hoping that this is not a diamond setup though. That's the only thing that a little bit concerns me. It looks a little bit like a diamond top right now. You have that peak, that bottom peak, and then pretty much your two elbows that are going to the side. So just be a little bit cautious about that. What I do want to see on Home Depot is I want to see us get back over that 396.50 level. Once we end up getting back over that 396.50 level, then you do have to test a little bit of resistance right around this level here of 397.24. And then, of course, you have that wick to fill at the top. But the only thing that I caution about is that diamond top here. So just be a little bit concerned about that. If you're pretty much deep in profits, then I would suggest you take a little bit of profits off the table. All right. Let me look at 2 more real quick. Someone silently said a ticker that I'm not aware of, ENR. So I'm gonna take a quick peep at it. Let's see what this one is. And I'm on a 5 minute. Let me get out to the daily, get a bigger picture on this one. See, all right. So I would have thought, had this not happened, that this was a little bit of an inverted head and shoulders. That did not play out that way. You had a steep little pullback. Looking down towards here is, I want to say that looked almost like a bull pennant, but it's not. You have a pretty much identified resistance level that you're looking at. Right around this level here, you're looking at pretty much a hard resistance. Right near that 40 level, you're looking at a hard resistance. And where your support that you're looking at right now is right around this level of 38.19 is where you're looking at for your support. So that's the range that I would play it out of. If it ends up breaking below that 38.19 level, then I will be cautious about it. But if it ends up breaking over that 40 level, then that'll be a nice little reversal back to the upside. All right. And I'll take the last one here. I mean, the video's already pushed to the moon here, but I'll see if I take a look in the video real quick. Someone mentioned Shopify. Let me peep Shopify real quick. I'll probably have to go down a little bit more to a lower level. So what I actually have with Shopify now is I had an ascending channel here, and I can probably extend it out just a bit. You had a little bit of an ascending channel. You had a beautiful little top here around that 1714 mark. And I think I actually pointed this one out not that long ago. You're getting a retest here of the breakout, but you're pretty much retesting prior resistance at support now. So once you get down to this level, I would anticipate it may happen tomorrow, potentially the day after. You're going to get close enough to the 1622 mark on Shopify here to retest the support. And that'll be when you go long on Shopify on the 1622 retest. So for right now, just be a little more cautious on this one. Just wait it out just another day or so. Get that retest, and that's when you'll be going along here around that 622 mark to go make another push towards another high. I know that there were buyers sitting out here for 1750 mark. I know that, if I'm not mistaken, a few days ago before it actually made that high, there were buyers stepping in for 1750 strike. More than likely, they probably sold at the top here. I would anticipate. Otherwise, they pretty much gotten the premiums just eating them alive. So let's see what ends up happening once we get that 1622. If we get a sharp reversal towards the upside, then I would likely be inclined to say that they haven't sold just yet, and the buying pressure is likely going to just step in here. All right. Last one I'll look at real quick is Nvidia. Let me see what Nvidia has done so far. Let me just make sure what the price action was after hours on Nvidia, because I know they were up about $14 on Nvidia, if I'm not mistaken. The last time I looked. Let me take a quick peep on it, real quick. Let's see. All right, so they're at 307. All right, so they closed up about $15 up to that 307 mark. So 307 puts them. Let's see where it puts them, because I want to keep my after hours turned off. Let me see. 307 puts them right around here. So they actually bumped up right towards the resistance level that we have here. Right around this resistance level is where they actually peaked here after hours. You just set it down. Yeah, right about there. So we ended up peaking right here. This was 306.80. So we're right near that resistance level. If we end up getting a continuation, you do have another hard resistance right here, in which you're going to end up hitting that and possibly rejecting is right around that 310.20. We end up breaking that the 310.26 mark, then we're looking at another resistance level right around here, in which you're going to end up hitting 313.62 is the mark that you're going to look at before you can get to push another high. It is entirely possible if we get over that 310 mark. I wouldn't be surprised if you start to see rapids to come in tomorrow morning. So definitely keep an eye on rapid calls tomorrow morning on Nvidia, because I can easily see that happening if this ends up getting that pushed over that 310 mark. And then it's likely that we end up getting a lot more upgrades on Nvidia tomorrow as well. So that may end up giving it a nice little push pre-market here as well. So that's something to keep an eye on. But that 310 mark and also the 313 mark is the two levels that you really want to keep an eye on. If I'm giving you a round number, all right. Other than that, though, I think we'll wrap it up here for tonight. Let's see what tomorrow's price action gives us. Again, sentiment right now is still bullish overall. There's nothing holding us down right now. Given the fact that we have semis running, mega cap tech just looks like it wants to continue. Let's see if there's any news that happens tomorrow morning, and that'll probably be what bears are really going to be happy about if we get some kind of bearish news. Other than that, everything looks like we're going to be going north tomorrow. The only thing I hope doesn't happen is like this morning, in which we just got that morning push and then everything else just looked like it was slowly moving through the rest of the day. So I'm hoping that doesn't end up happening tomorrow. The only thing other also today was that we didn't get much runners through the day. We got that early push from Tesla. We got the early push from Amazon and Apple, and also if you want to count Microsoft as well. But then after that, what 2 hours after the open, there wasn't anything really pushing much through the day. So they didn't let any runners go. I mean, I think the highest move today was Tesla's move, which was about that $46 move that they made. I was expecting Amazon to get that kind of move once it made its second attempt towards the high of the day, and that didn't end up happening. So let's see what happens tomorrow. Again, Amazon's pretty much top of my list. I gave you guys Apple on the nightly watch list here, I think a day or two ago. I'm giving Amazon here tonight. So let's see what she does tomorrow or on Friday. I'm expecting $100 move, just so you're aware. It'll be $100 move, and it'll rather probably be the fastest $100 move that we're gonna just see. It'll be probably be in a blink of an eye. That's really what I'm expecting. So let's see if I'm right twice in a row. Otherwise, I'm gonna just stay quiet. All right. Tesla pretty much did what Tesla needed to do. I know that Avery was pretty much had more so of an eye on Tesla. I know the Rapids came out also. We had some nice Rapids on Amazon. Actually, fun fact on Amazon Rapids. I heard that from Dan is that they're actually I think 10-0 for the month so far on Amazon Rapids. That's really big. So the good thing with setting when you're playing volatile stocks or rapids, and this is pretty much what I've done, is that you set a limit order. Be very careful in trying to chase for rapids, especially in volatile stocks like that. Names like Tesla, like Amazon, like Google. With those kind of names, you definitely want to set, and also throw Tesla in there as well. You definitely want to set a limit order. So that way you usually you get filled on like some kind of pullback or a wick down, and that way you get that pop to give you that 10%. So I just want to throw that out there for you. But today was pretty much a solid day overall. A lot of good movement out there. Let's see what tomorrow brings, and I'll see you guys on live in the morning then, alright? Other than that, good night everyone, and I'll see you in the morning again, alright?